everyone, and welcome to our live stream. We are going to be talking about ways that we can keep scent work safe. Very exciting stuff. So, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Dianna Santos. I'm the owner and lead instructor of Scent Work University, and this is an online dog training platform where we provide all kinds of goodness, all centered around scent work. So we offer a very large library of things. Those include online courses, seminars, webinars, virtual events, ebooks, a regularly updated blog, the All About Scent Work podcast, free live streams like this one, free training tips and instructor mentorship program, Zoom consultations, video reviews, all kinds of good stuff. We have a very, very, very large library of things. But I definitely want to make certain that we're offering what you guys are interested in. So if there's a certain topic that you're like, oh, I really wish you guys would talk about blah, 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 please let me know. You can email me at dianna@scentworku.com, or you can write comments in where this video is streaming right now. So we're streaming it on our Facebook page for Scent Work University, as well as our YouTube channel. So always feel free to let us know. I want you to do this. And we will make that resource for you. Good morning, everyone. Delighted to see you. Thank you so very much for joining us today. I definitely want you guys to continue writing your comments. I can see them and I want to respond to them because I want this to be participatory. We're going to be here together for an hour together talking about how we can keep scent work safe. And I definitely want you guys to ask questions, to let me know your comments, maybe what you're doing in order to make certain that this activity is safe. But there's some very important caveats before I get started. I am not a veterinarian. You definitely want to make certain that anytime you're doing anything with your dog, you're partnering with your veterinarian, you're getting their advice, you're asking them questions. And if there's something that you're concerned about, please make certain that you talk to them first. They should be your partner forever. Make certain that you are friends with that person and that you're asking them for their advice. I also just want to make certain that we're really understanding this piece, that every single dog is unique. Things that I may have done with my own dogs, or I may be doing with my current tiny terrier, that may be entirely different than what you do with your dogs, or what you may see classmates do with their own dogs. Every single dog is going to have their own needs, and their person may have a different approach as far as how they're meeting those needs. And there may be some people who are like, you know what, my dog has been totally fine. We've never had any problems. I don't know what I'm watching this live stream. I think scent work is totally safe the way it is. And then you may be someone like me, like, oh no, I have to be very worried about safety because of the kind of dogs that I've had. So it's just important for us to remember that every single dog is unique. So what I'm hoping to do with this is that we can kind of talk about all the different things that we may have experienced, and we can learn from each other. Even if you're not going to use it with this dog right now, it can be good to have more tools in your toolbox. Because you may come across a dog later that would be really helpful to have. Also, please make certain at all times, everyone should be doing this. Your very first hat that you should be wearing is being an advocate for your dog all the time. When you're training, when you're trialing, anytime you're doing anything, make certain that you advocate for them. And sometimes that also means, advocate them over you. Remember that your dog, they're counting on you to make good choices for them. They're counting on you to have their best interest at heart at all times. And that sometimes can be harder than it sounds. It can be challenging for us to remember that they're not little furry people, that they are dogs and they have a different experience than we do. They are going through scent work in a completely different way than we are. So just remember that part. Continually remind yourself, how can I best advocate for my dog when we're training, when we're trialing, when we're practicing in the search, leading to the search, after the search, all the time. That should be our very first thing. Everything else will fall into place. Yay! Yes, absolutely. 100% of our students get told all the time, safety, safety, safety. I love it. Yes, please. Safety should absolutely be your number one thing that you're always worried about. So what I really want us to do in this little time that we have together, I want to honor our Bubblewrap dogs. Like, what is that? These are the dogs. I coined this term. It was lovingly, but lovingly in a, oh my God, why are you doing this to me kind of way. All of the dogs that I've had so far in my adult life have all been what I call Bubblewrap dogs, meaning they could go into any situation, any space, at all. If there was any possibility for them to become injured, they would be so. If there was some way they could hurt themselves, they did. If there was some way something could go wrong, it did. So I become uber paranoid because these dogs were like, we're going to live at the vet clinic and it's going to be so much fun. And it was like, would rather we didn't. But I also now, as time has gone on, my bubble wrap type of definition is also sometimes I want to wrap dogs in bubble wrap where I want to protect them from things. I want to make certain that, again, I'm advocating for them and that I'm making certain that I'm managing my environment, that I'm doing everything I can to protect them from the world at large that could be a little bit difficult for them or could be challenging for them. So I don't want us to look down on our bubble wrap dogs. In my opinion, maybe all dogs need a little bit of bubble wrap every now and again. But I want us to instead take this as a little bit of a responsibility to make certain that we're making certain that our dogs are safe. There are some dogs who really make it so that you're going to have to work really hard to make certain that you keep me safe because I want to be a stunt dog and I want to make this very hard for you. And that's all kinds of exciting. But I think all dogs could use some bubble wrap every now and again. How to use straws safely. I worry they will get swallowed. Very good question. We're going to get to that. That's a good question. We're going to star that. So those are exactly the kinds of things I want you guys to put inside those comments so we can talk about it. So a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about and also just some things for you to keep in mind as far as what you can do in order to make certain that, again, we are doing these things so that they're safe. We want to be really careful about how we're designing our searches. And I just did a webinar very recently. I haven't slept in like 24 hours, so I think it was like a day or so ago. I don't remember. But very recently, I did a webinar where I was talking about we should be empowering ourselves. We should feel almost godly when it comes to how we design our searches because we're in control of everything. So when we're using that power, we should use it responsibly. And we should be very mindful about what we're doing, what we're placing where, what's in play, what's not in play, how our dogs are going to be tackling it. Are there any safety concerns? Are there physical safety concerns? Are there other kinds of safety concerns? And how can we address all of that? Additionally, we then want to think about how we're setting our hides. What someone has already brought up. What type of odor vessel should I use? Where should I place it? How should I place it? What should I think about? All that kind of stuff. We also want to think about how is it that we're tackling our searches? What are we doing with our dogs in the search itself? What are our expectations? What are the types of decisions that we're making? How are we ensuring that our dogs actually do feel safe so they can do what we're asking them to do? And then this is also going to talk about trialing, because I think that's an important conversation to have as well, so that we can think about when should I be trialing and how should I be trialing? Where should I be trialing? What is trialing? How can I make certain that this is as safe as possible, even when I may be competing and trying to get titles and ribbons? And really fully appreciating who our dog is, not who we want them to be, not who we dream them to be, not who we want them to turn into, but who they are right now, what their needs are, and how I can best meet those within the context of scent work, but also thinking outside of scent work and how that maybe could help scent work, that not everything has to be done within our searches. So those are just some of the things I'm hoping to cover. But by all means, again, please feel free to use those comments. I had a dog that ate a straw. Boo! Yes, no straw eating. And just because we can doesn't mean that we should, because sometimes a dog could get hurt. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, please. I love this. We're going to show this. Just because we can doesn't mean we should, because sometimes a dog could get hurt. Yes. And this is the issue with scent work, is that sometimes we can become so enamored. We can become so, how can I put it? Become so excited, right? Ooh, that looks sexy. Oh, that looks fun or whatever. And then we set something up and the dog is doing it. And then we kind of get in a pickle, right? Because like, okay, well, I put out the hide. The dog is trying to get it. But now is like that mountain of stuff going to fall on them? Maybe. And we would want to be concerned about that, right? So this is where I'm going to urge you to think about having a brake pedal about everything and maybe pumping the brakes a little bit. Take some time. Anyone who may have remembered when I was still teaching in person, I was infamous for no matter what class it was, I would just stop and just look around and stare And they're like, okay, she's thinking, she's processing, give her a couple of seconds. And I did that all the time because I was constantly trying to figure out, no matter what it was, how can we make this more safe? And also, the biggest question I was asking myself, how can this go wrong? Because there's lots of ways that this can go wrong. And how can I try to avoid those? And that is why it's really super critical for us to be critical of the potential places that we're going to be searching. This isn't just for field trip searches. This is also when you're in class. This is also when you're searching at home. You would be surprised. When you are in a familiar place, particularly where you live, you become blind to a lot of stuff. Think of a flat surface you have in your house. You came in rushed one day, you had some stuff in your hands, nothing that was overly important, and you plopped it down that flat spot. And then you went about your day. And now it lives there, and it's lived there for months, and you don't even see it anymore. You probably thought you lost it, but it's just there now. But if you were to take a video or a photo of your home, and then you were to look at it in a completely different context, you may actually see it. And you may be mortified, be like, I have so many flat spaces with so much stuff on them. My point being is that when we're practicing in places that we're familiar with, there may be lots of things that may be problematic. They could just be flat out not safe for our dogs. And we just don't even see them because we're kind of blind to it. A common thing with this is if we were doing any kind of work, let's say construction or moving stuff or whatever it is, nails. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen nails poking into search areas, and that is always where we want to put a hide, like without fail. And I've done this when I was working with trial officials. They're like, okay, look here, I made this video of this test search I want to set up. It's like, okay, great. Please make certain that you have a nice video so I can see everything. And always there'd be at least one, like, did you not see the nail that was right where the dog's face was going to go? Like, don't put the hide there, put it somewhere else. But my point being is that this is really easy to fall into. We want to be really concerned. Like, if I put a hide here, where's the dog's body going to be? How are they going to be able to get to it? Are they going to be injured trying to get in there? Could they get stuck after trying to get to that hide? There's all these lovely questions that we can ask. And that's why I want to be really careful about that stuff. Yes, absolutely. Or little dogs under vehicles, dogs with little self-preservation. This is key. The dogs who don't have any self-preservation, they also tend to be my Bubblewrap dogs. Because they're like, don't worry, I can make it. I'm Mighty Terrier, as an example. No. You can break, and then I got to pay for it, and then I got to take care of you, and I don't like it. So yes, absolutely. We're going to be talking about that kind of stuff so that you can really be mindful of, if I put hide here, how is my dog going to work that space? Are they going to have enough room to get to it? And then how are they going to get out? Because that's the other thing. If they're wearing any kind of clothing, is that going to get stuck on something? All kinds of fun stuff. We have another one. I have a little dog, makes me hypersensitive on sharp things in the search area. Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. And yes, if I fit, I go. Ugh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? And the thing is that we built this up on purpose, right? We built up all this wonderful love for odor. We say, go to source. And they say, sure. But then we're looking at it from a human perspective, and they decide to take the other route that's like filled with crocodiles and like lava and fire. We're like, why are you going that way? And they're like, that's the most direct way. I'm like, you're going to die. So if we can figure out ways to identify those hazardous routes and make those so that they're not accessible at all, even for, the very stunt dog kind of dogs, then we can, lower our blood pressure, live a little bit longer, and our dogs don't go to the vet. So some of the suggestions that I have for you is, particularly when it comes to field trip searches, and I love the fact, one of the things that we're hearing inside of the community is people are definitely taking this to heart, that I shouldn't just train at home, particularly if I'm interested in trialing. I should take this on the road. I should do field trip searches, which is wonderful. I'm going to urge you, I'm going to plead with you, please, 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 scope out your field trip searches without your dog first. And I want you to spend a little bit of time there. And I want you to scope it out to see what type of spaces would I want to use at this location, what types of searches would I want to set up, why would I want to set up those kind of searches, How much can I use this space, right? What is this space good for? But the big reason why I want you to spend some time there, I want you to figure out how other people are using this space. If you see a bunch of dogs on leash, they're taking walks, maybe they're doing searches too, whatever, not a problem. But if you see more than 2 loose dogs, don't go there for your searches, please. It's just not worth it. It's not safe at all. Think of it this way. You have spent all this time and attention and money building up your dog's love for the game. They adore their hides. Their hides are so important to them. Dogs don't like to share. So your dog is hunting, which is a very interesting activity to other dogs. So that other dog can rush over and be like, "What are you doing?" And your dog is like, "Get away from me." Like, I'm finding my hide and this is mine. This is all bad. Again, it gets more complicated if your dog is sensitive to other dogs, whether they like them or don't. It's just not a good scene. So I know this sounds silly, but truly, take some time when you're going to field trip searches, field trip locations, potential field trip locations. Scope them out for all kinds of safety stuff. But the big thing is that if this piqued your interest for your dog, probably somebody else was piqued too. See if there's any loose dogs. I personally would strongly urge you to not search there if you see that. Yes, bad associations would be really, really bad. That's going to be an ongoing theme. And we have another one. Definitely need to learn how to read search areas better, since I have one dog who is cautious and one with no fear. So you get both sides of the equation. So much fun. So yes, we're going to talk about some of the ways that we may be able to assess those spaces. And the biggest thing that I can urge for you is to really just take the time to embrace the creativity of this creation of the search, which many of us rush through because we care more about the search itself, which makes sense. But it should be really exciting to you to create a search area. Because again, you are like the master of your domain. Everything can change. You could have a place that, again, you're just visiting, let's say a park, but you can change everything about that. You can have some areas in play, some areas out of play. You can change where your start line is. You can change what kind of hides you put, how many hides. You can bring containers or not, props or not. You could have friends come, not friends come. It's just, there's so much that's possible. So this should be the exciting part. And I want to really ignite that in people. But with that excitement, I want us to be really mindful about what we see and making really thoughtful decisions. So again, we're keeping everything safe because our dogs can't do what we want them to do if they're not safe. But when you do have different dogs, you are going to have to change your approach for each dog. Because if you have a cautious dog, you may want to take certain things out, put certain things in as far as what's going to be in play. And for the dog who's like, "I can do everything," you may have to have different considerations to say, "Okay, well, you can fall off that cliff over there, so we're not going to go over that way. We're going to go over this way," that kind of thing. So some of the common ones, not exhaustive at all. Please do not take this as the only things. It is so much longer than this, but we only have an hour. Some of the things we want to watch out for. Again, those nails. I cannot tell you how many times I have come across nails inside search areas, interiors and exteriors, doesn't matter. They're everywhere. And they're always where we want to put hides. So again, when you're thinking of, I want to put a hide here, quite literally look around it. Where is my dog going to put their body? Where are they going to put their face? Where are they going to put their nose? And could they potentially get hurt? Same thing with wires. They're same darn thing. Any kind of sharp edges. This is particularly true with vehicles. When we are finding vehicles to practice on, they may be a little dinged up, or there may be other parts, let's say there's trailers or anything else. You can see lots of sharp edges on that stuff. Again, just be careful, be mindful. How is my dog going to do this? Is there any way they could potentially get hurt? And if there is, do something else. Sheer drop-offs. This was something that was brand new to me. I used to live on the East Coast of the United States, and then I moved over to the West Coast of the United States into Southern California. And here they have those cliffs that just, there's nothing on the other end. And there's no guardrail or anything. So Again, I've had those dogs where they will just be like, look, there's a tree that's growing on the bottom part of the cliff, and we can see the top of the tree. And at the top of the tree, there's a squirrel. I want to jump off the edge of the cliff to try to go get the squirrels. It could be not. So again, we want to be very mindful about what is in our area, where we want to put hides, what should be in play and what shouldn't be in play. But like, really? Seriously? I have to think about this? Think of it this way. Over in the East Coast of the United States, a more common type of thing that we had to be mindful of were attic access stairs. So these would be on the exterior of a vehicle, and they were always really super steep. They had like a little cement pad around them. Sometimes they had a railing. Most of the time they didn't. So if you placed a hide there, all the odor is going to be flowing into that bottom part. And you may have some dogs that just chase odor on the other side of that little cement pad. So they just like plummet. And even if they don't get hurt, they're taking you with them. So maybe we don't put the hide there. Maybe you don't have that area in play. Like, these are the things that we have to think about. Poison traps. This is huge. So if you are doing field trip searches particularly, or if you're going to, let's say, a strip mall outside of any kind of business, fairgrounds, farms, anything like that, they probably are going to have some poison traps out for vermin and things of the like. You don't want your dogs anywhere near these things. They have little openings. It's just all bad. So if you see that, that's why I'm saying scope out these areas first. Just don't search in those areas. Like, Santos, they're everywhere. I know, I get it. But again, we want to make certain our dogs are safe instead. Trust me, you don't want your dog to get into that stuff. Chemicals of all variety. So this can be anything from things that you just don't even know to maybe you're trying to search inside of a box store, and maybe you're in an aisle that has a lot of chemicals in it. At the very least, that could potentially be messing with what your dog can smell. Because again, we don't know how this all works, but you're more concerned about contact with chemicals or ingesting of chemicals. My biggest one, the thing I'm always really worried about, is antifreeze. It's sweet tasting, dogs really like it, and it's ridiculously lethal and toxic. So if I was going to be working where there have been vehicles parked, if I see any kind of chemicals on the ground, I'm just like, I'm not going to search here. I'm going to go search somewhere else. Now, is that uber paranoid? Probably, but I would rather not even test it. It's just something for you to be mindful of. Garbage. So this is loose garbage. Let's say, again, you're doing a field trip search. You could be doing this at a mall parking lot, a parking lot of a strip mall, or you're doing it at a park or a fairgrounds, whatever. And you happen to see loose garbage around. I'm not going to be searching in that area because, in my experience, loose garbage usually also accompanies broken glass and maybe some other sharp things that we don't want any part of. So I'm not going to be in that area. I also don't know if there's foodstuffs, and you have to be worried about poison foodstuffs. There's all kinds of things you got to be worried about. So we're just not going to go in that area, right? Then we have all this other kind of things we just may not even think about, where maybe I'm designing a search, but there's some unstable objects or surfaces. Is my dog going to have to navigate all of this to try to get to their hide? And what is that going to do at the end of the day? Are they going to feel like the hide was scary, which could be really bad, like someone mentioned before? That could have a negative association with odor, which could be really hard to undo. So we want to be careful about that. Does it mean that we want to avoid it forever? Probably not. Maybe we want to do some training to build the dog's ability to deal with that stuff. But if they've never done that before, and I happen to notice, hey, this is kind of like a teeter-totter that you have to be on in order to get to your hide, is that really a good idea at this moment in time? You have to ask yourself that question, and it may be no. Pavement. Pavement gets really hot in the summer, but it also could be treated for ice melting in the winter. Both of those are bad for our dogs. So we don't want our dogs getting injured trying to do their searches, either burning their pads or having chemical burns. Metal surfaces. This is really surprising for people. It gets really hot in the sun, and it doesn't have to be hot outside. So for many of us, when we are taking classes, maybe it's at a training center or some kind of training room, and we all know those metal chairs, right? Those metal chairs that make up your group classes, we may take those outside for part of our searches. Yay. Well, if it's sunny, that chair is going to get really hot. So if you place a hide onto that chair and your dog comes up and they put their nose into the chair is going to bite them at source. This is very bad. Same is true for your vehicles. Your vehicle could be biting the dog when it gets really hot. So again, we want to be really careful about this stuff. Uneven footing or holes. Again, we don't want our dogs like falling into holes and stuff. And this also depends on your dog's mobility. If they feel like they got to scramble somewhere in order to get to a hide, they may make the determination like, I don't know if I can do that, or they may lose their footing. Again, you just have to be careful about this stuff. I call these sticker plants. These basically are plants that are not our friends. They can run the gamut as far as what they actually are. Here in Southern California, the biggest one that we have to worry about are foxtails. They are not friendly. They are very, very bad. They tunnel into all kinds of parts of our dogs, and we have to go to vets, and it's not great. So again, you want to scope out these areas. Are there certain plants, whether they have maybe chemical reactions to dogs that could be bad? Maybe they're not so great if they happen to ingest them. Maybe there is something that's on them like burrs or whatever else that can cause issues. Just don't search there. Like if I were to go somewhere in my area and there's just a ton of foxtails, I'm not going to search in that area. It's not worth it. I will find another spot. And this is what someone mentioned before. You have to think about what your dog is wearing. So if they're wearing a collar or they're wearing a harness, let's say they have to push in somewhere in order to get to source. We've built this up. We want this as part of our training, right? I want the drive to source. You watched our video we put out recently on YouTube. I want my dog to do that. Great. But they're going to have to back out. They're going to have to get out of that area. Is that motion potentially going to get their clothing stuck on something? And could that thing that gets stuck then drag along with them and basically chase them? Or could it happen going the other way? They're trying to get into source and they get stuck on something and then they panic and now basically the hide is chasing them. Really easy way to create a super negative association with odor, which is very, very hard to undo. So you don't want to think about this. Not exhaustive at all. That's not what this list is meant to be. It's also not supposed to make you quite as paranoid as I am, but more so that you can look at your search areas in a way and say, how could this go wrong? And what can I do to design this so that I don't have to worry about this stuff, if that makes sense? So you have a whole lot of activity. Let me see what you guys are saying. I love this. You guys are doing great. Yes. Even my super submissive dog snapped at a friend dog when she thought she was preventing her from getting to odor. Other dog backed off, no issues, but could have been bad. Absolutely. This is such an important thing. Thank you for sharing this. Is that dogs do not like to share. And this is something that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. Is you want to think about this when you are doing training and also when you're doing stuff for trials. We're going to talk about some of the routines you may want to put in place. Is our whole goal with scent work is to build up the dog's love for the hide. And we want them to say, this is the best thing ever. They're not supposed to want to share it. Right? They're supposed to want to go out and get it. And when other dogs are around, that is not a good thing. And additionally, you can have issues where dogs can try to claim a hide, even if there's not any grumbling or anything that we can see, but they can leave chemical trails. Say, don't you dare touch this. This is mine, which then can also be an issue. Let's say you're doing this as a group practice session or something. So you may see that as well. So much fun. So we just have to think about this stuff, right? Is that, again, they're not people, they're dogs, and dogs don't want to share. So we shouldn't be expecting them to do so. And when we're trying to put these ideas together as far as how we can best train and practice, and also how we can best trial so we can have good results, we need to remind ourselves of that. Thank you very much for sharing. Just like the military, you can plan for everything and be surprised at how they search the area or the people who go there. Yes. Anytime, scent work is amazing, particularly at trials. I say this all the time. If something can go wrong at a trial, like behind the curtain, it will. It's utter chaos back there usually. Everything that can go wrong usually is. But the same is kind of true when you're training yourself. Is you may have the best laid plans, right? Like, oh, I listened to the Santos lady. I took it to heart. I scoped out my area the day before and I figured out it was all safe. I have a plan and I'm empowered and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. You set everything all up. You grab your dog, you turn around twice, and all of a sudden, like a marching band comes walking through. Like, what gives? So we do always have to be a little bit flexible and understand that The set work gods have a great sense of humor and they will humble us consistently. But the more that we're able to not just hand ourselves over to fate, but to plan and to have contingencies, that's the most important part. So that we have a plan B, C, D, and E, which could also just be, well, I guess this isn't happening today. We're going to go back into the car and we're going to go somewhere else. I have another question. My dogs are both deaf and blind, so I'm super fussy about their searches. Trailers with sharp edges and vehicles are our nemesis. Yes. First of all, I love that you're playing the game with them. You are awesome. But yes, we absolutely have to advocate for our dogs all the time. And the wonderful thing about scent work, particularly for dogs who are deaf or blind or both, is that it can be very empowering for them because that sense of smell really does kick in. And it can be difficult for us as handlers in safe environments to allow them to search because we are so concerned about them staying safe. So there is kind of an edge that we have to find where we're allowing the dog to still explore, to still hunt, but we also have to be a good partner. And I would absolutely agree with you. Like, yes, those sharp edges on vehicles can be very, very challenging. But you want to see if there's creative ways that you can go about doing that. You also don't have to stick with traditional vehicles. If you can find things like wheelbarrows or carts or bicycles or motorcycles, just anything that you use for transportation, that sometimes can help. So you're still, or even tables, quite honestly, like barriers. It's the dog needs, for a vehicle search, we're trying to show them that the hide can be in one spot, let's say the driver's side of the vehicle. And the wind is going from the driver's side to the passenger side. So they're getting all this odor in the passenger wheel well, but that's not where the hide is. So they have to leave odor to go around the front or the back of the vehicle to get to source. We're trying to show them you got to sometimes leave odor to get to source. That's basically all vehicle search is all about. So we could potentially do that without vehicles at all if we were really worried about it. And we could do it like picnic tables or other kinds of barriers and X-pens. We can always try to break things down in a way that works for our dogs. And I would commend you for that, honestly. So it's just about being creative, but good on you for playing with your dogs. Gold star. Especially here going into summer. It's already 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, yeah, definitely. Anytime it's starting to get really, really warm, you want to be careful about what you're putting inside of your search areas. And those metal things surprisingly get very hot very, very fast. And it honestly doesn't have to be hot out for that to happen. They just need to have direct sunlight. You guys are doing so well in the comments. I am so impressed with all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's play a little game. We are going to be looking at this potential search area. And what I want you guys to do inside of the chat is I want you to write in there, is there anything in here that you're concerned with? I have maybe some thoughts, but I want you to share in the comments, you can write just a simple little word of what it is that you think could potentially be a safety hazard or could be a safety concern or something that you may want to change. What do you think about this photo? What are some of the things you may consider, I'm not so keen about blah, blah, blah. Whatever that is. I'm going to give you guys a second to do that just as I grab a drink of water. You guys are so smart. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. You guys are so brilliant. So we've got oil, we've got potentially falling objects off of the wall, and we've got fertilizer. Exactly. I completely agree with all of you. So my big things were these chemicals. So I have some kind of spillage on the ground, and I have this bag right here that I'm not so sure what it is, and I don't want my dog anywhere near. So if I could get rid of that stuff, maybe I still could use this space. But then we want to think about where we want to put the hide, right? And this is where you guys are already way ahead of me. You're just so smart. You're able to see through all of my little smoke and mirrors. Is that if I were to put a hide onto either this stroller or on the scoop part of this thingamajigger, my brain isn't working, snow shoveler thinger. If I were to put it there, just think about this for a second, right? If I were to put it on the scoop part where it's between the scoop and the wall, and I've taught my dog, I want you to get to source. Where is their nose going to go? Their nose is going to get like smushed in between the scoop and the wall. And depending on how, let's say, enthusiastic that your dog is, they're probably going to push that shovel off of the wall. And depending on how secure this is, at the very least is going to swing back down towards the wall, which would startle the dog, or it may just go flying off of the wall. All of this is not great. So if I were going to put anything on the shovel, I would really secure this to the wall as best as I could so it wasn't going to be able to do that. And then we'd need to figure out, well, then is it going to be an inaccessible height or not? And is that appropriate? And yada, yada, yada. But I wouldn't want this falling on the dog, or I wouldn't want it swinging back and potentially hitting the dog. Again, we need to be concerned about these things. The same thing with the stroller is that I would want to make certain, depending on where I put this hide, again, if I put it behind the stroller, because again, the dog can't see the hide. Okay, that's fine. But if we put it behind the stroller up against the wall, if my dog is really enthusiastic about it, they may just fling the stroller off of the wall. Now, again, you may say, my dog is super confident. They're not going to care, but they could. And they're doing that as they're trying to get to a hide. We also don't want to promote our dogs being destructive. That wouldn't be great. So like, these are the things you want to think about. Is this the only thing to be concerned about in here? No. You guys already have some really good things in here. The lawnmower, as well as the motorcycles in the back, really good stuff. But again, it's not that I want you to not search anywhere. I do. I want you to use these spaces. But this is the power that you have, is what kind of changes could you potentially make to make this safer, and also to get the results that you're looking for, so that you're getting the response from the dog that you actually want. We don't want the dog thinking that I have to claw the shovel off of the wall, or I need to fling this baby carriage around the garage. Like, that's not great. So I hope that makes sense. But you guys were already just like, yes, we see the oil. Yeah, bad. Oh, fertilizer. Not good. Good job. Gold star. So I want to talk about odor vessels, because someone had asked before, like, I'm very worried about the straws, which I totally understand. So we actually want to show that. How can I use my straws safely? I worry that they will get swallowed. Yes, that is a very legitimate concern. So we want to think about why we want to use a straw. And there are definitely times that we would want to use a straw, that it's going to provide the odor picture that we want. Maybe it's where we're placing the straw. And maybe we're only going to place a straw when we actually know the dog isn't going to be able to get to it. You say, well, what about pairing, Santos? You like pairing, which I do. I do like pairing very, very much. And that's where we have wonderful tools like the What a Pair. So I was supposed to have this link, and I don't. So let me get it for you. Hang on one second. So the What a Pair is a wonderful accessory, and it provides a way for us to place our treats in such a way so that they can be with the odor vessel, but I have a very technical term for this, little pinchy little fingers, so that they're able to hold onto the treat, and it promotes the dog to do more licking as opposed to biting, as opposed to grab and go. Because sometimes when you just balance the treat on top of the hide, on top of the metal tin or the straw, the dog just goes in and the whole thing is gone. And you're like, oh my God, no. So potentially having some kind of pairing accessory with the straw could potentially help. Also, placing the straw in such a way that the dog can't really get to it. So you want to ask yourself a couple of questions. Is the dog thinking that they're supposed to be eating it? Are they thinking that they're supposed to grab it? Do they think, or do they want to have it in their mouth? Maybe they want to give it to you, If that's the case, you have to protect the hide. And Tony Gravely does a really nice job of talking about these things in the various presentations that he's done for us. Some of the suggestions that he has had is you can use tie down, so zip tie kind of things, in order to literally tie the hide to the location wherever it is. Or you can use suet cages. So that's they're blocks of, they're like a emulsified fat with like seeds and stuff they use for birds. You can place your hide in there in order to really protect it. Otherwise, trying to find places where the odor vessel itself is kind of blocked from the dog, But in addition to that, I think that we should also do a little bit of training to help the dog understand you don't need to grab it. Like, that's not the point. I just need you to find it. And if it's really something that's super, super chronic, where you're really concerned about it, the dog is just obsessed, I need to have it in my mouth. You may want to, in that situation, train them a different behavior, a nose freeze, as an example. Or you may want to do something completely different, maybe a different type of body position, a stare, who knows? But so that they understand that they don't have to do that. That's again where we want to make certain that we're understanding every dog may need something a little bit different. And you've been dealing with dogs trying to ingest hides for any period of time. You want to nip that in the bud. And the longer that that's been going on, the more time you're going to have to spend trying to fix it. But potentially introducing a final training response may help with that as well. But some big things that we always want to do with our hides. Number one, no naked Q-tips. They must be inside something, some kind of odor vessel, a tube, a metal tin, a straw, something. No naked Q-tips. You don't want those out there. Also, if you're using a magnet, it has to be inside your odor vessel. Even if you're using a tube, it has to be inside, for the possibility that if your dog were to eat the whole hide, it's more likely to pass through if the magnet is on the inside. If the magnet is on the outside, it could get stuck, and that's very bad. We don't want that. We don't want your dogs eating these things anyway. They're not meant to be ingested, but for safety purposes, always have your magnet on the inside of your odor vessel, not on the outside. Again, if you're using pairing, I would really recommend, now that we have these wonderful pairing accessories, use them. They're very, very, very good. You can have your traditional hides, on the underside of a seat of a chair, as an example, and your treat is very secure inside those little fingers. They're fantastic. I cannot recommend them enough. The other thing I would say, particularly when you're using those kinds of odor vessels like straws or things that are smaller, be really mindful about your adhesive, because if the dog just comes up and just kind of pokes it and your hide falls, particularly if it's, let's say it's paired but not with an accessory, they may then go to go eat the hide, not the hide, but the treat, and just the whole thing goes with them because it's all fallen down. So be really careful about the kind of adhesives that you're using. I like putty, but putty is useless if the surface is moist or if it's fabric. It's just not going to work. So having a variety of things to choose from, Tony Gravely has talked about the ZOTS, Z-O-T-S, glue dots, that those are not toxic to dogs, and they're pretty good as far as putting them around places. You could also use things like tape if you need to. Again, zip tying the hide to something is basically adhesing it. So you can get creative, but you want to think about, how can I do this in a way that's going to ensure that my hide is stable, my hide is nice and secure. And I also want to be mindful, what is my dog telling me what they think they're supposed to do with the hide? They're not supposed to be trying to eat the hide. We don't want them to eat the hide. They're not supposed to be ingesting those Q-tips. They're not supposed to be ingesting the essential oils. So we want to avoid that as best as we can. So if that stuff is happening, that means that you should pump the brakes and be like, okay, let me ask myself some questions. And what can I do to try to prevent this? And if you are having a chronic issue, definitely make certain that you reach out to an instructor. We have two wonderful resources at Network University in case maybe you don't work with an instructor right now. We have, one of them is Zoom consultations. Let me just get you that link very quickly. And that's where you can work with an instructor and you can ask them, excuse my typing, you can ask them questions and you can schedule a consultation with them, and they can work with you in order to figure out some solutions. They can put together a training plan for you. So that could be really, really helpful, particularly if this is a chronic issue. You don't want this to just keep continuing. The longer it goes on, the longer it's going to take to fix it. So let me see what kind of things you guys have. Yes. So my dog has knocked things off of the bookshelf once. Yes, it spooked him. Now he's very careful around shelves. Yes, that's a very good thing to point out. And what we also have to remember is that our dogs are making connections all of the time. And when something like that happens, there could have been a bunch of different things that were going on, or there were stimuli inside the environment that the dog was taking in. And we never know what all of that is. And we may not actually know those connections until much later on, when suddenly they're doing something weird, they've developed some superstitious behavior, and we're like, what's happening? And it actually was relating back to that incident that happened however long ago. So the more that we can be mindful of that kind of stuff, the better. And thinking through, when I'm designing a search, how is my dog going to tackle this? What kind of motions are they going to go through? And what potentially could happen? And could this backfire on me? So the big thing that I'm hoping I'm making clear is that our dogs have to feel safe. And they have to be safe, like physically safe, all the stuff we've been talking about. But the psychological safety is really important too. They have to know that if I do this, I'm going to live through this whole activity. Because if they don't feel safe, they're literally not going to be able to do what we're asking them to do. So I just want to put this out there as far as something to think about when we're training, whether we're practicing with friends or we're in class. When we're doing this as a group, we touched upon this already, is that dogs are not really too keen on sharing. And it's very stressful for dogs to watch other dogs. It's very stressful for dogs to be doing searching and having other dogs watch them. So having this kind of setup, I'm asking my dog to do a container search. And here are all these dogs, and they're with their people, and they're all watching us. And if this is a class, there's another set of 3 dogs watching on the other side. So I might be going down a gauntlet of 6 little puppies going, "Oh, you're taking my cookies." So I would have a suggestion. At the very least, placing the dogs that are waiting inside of crates has multiple benefits. Number one, we definitely want to make certain that the dogs that aren't working have a time to kind of think about what they did when they did work. And if you are interested in trialing, your dogs have got to get used to doing crating anyway. You want this to be part of the routine. You want your dog to know that crate time is rest time, and it's also me being safe time. So while this is better than what we had, like this, not a fan. This is better, but I'm still not feeling all the warms and fuzzies. This would be even better. Like, what happened? I covered the crates. Again, my graphic design thing is limited. But basically, I'm offering visual blockades for the crates themselves. So now the dogs inside the crates can actually rest. And the dog working can work without having all those eyeballs on them. Because again, we are very verbal. As you can tell, I haven't shut up yet. But our dogs are very communicative with their bodies, with their facial expressions, obviously with their pheromones and their chemicals and everything else. They don't necessarily have to make a noise that we can actually hear, but they're having full conversations with each other. Sue Sternberg is very good about talking about this, about the silent dog in the back of the room with their spitballs. And they're just spitting those spitballs over at the other dogs. And then finally, one of the dogs that's getting pelted in the head with all these silent communications that we can't pick up on, they lose it. And then the quiet dog is like, wasn't that so much fun? We want to avoid that when we're doing searching, right? This isn't great. The dog searching may not feel safe. So this situation, so if we're going from bad to better, this, not so great. This one, this is better. This, okay, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable. I feel a lot better like this. So there's actually a visual blockade from the dogs that aren't working. And ideally, I even have visual blockades in between the dogs. So they basically all have their own little condos. This would be fantastic. This is what I would do in my classes. And the next step is really what I would try to do in my classes. This is nice because we want our dogs to know that when they're resting, they truly are doing that. They're resting. And that can also carry over when you're doing trialing. So they're able to really be restful inside of their crate. If you think about it this way, if you're doing all this training in class, and let's say you are bringing a crate, first of all, kudos, that's very good. But it's not a restful thing. It's kind of a competition between all the dogs. I'm going to go, I'm going to go, I'm going to go. And they've been doing that for 6, 8, 12, 16, 20 weeks. They've had this like, when they're inside their crate. Why do we think they're going to be restful inside their crate at the trial? So the more that we can practice what we want in training, what we want at trialing, if we practice that in training, it can really help. But this is the setup I really like, is where we have a visual barrier that's also a physical barrier that's literally blocking off the search area. It would be from wall to wall. This would be covered with some kind of sheet or some other kind of blanket or something. So it was a solid barrier. And we would have to use gates in order to get in. So I could do off-leash searches in here. We would have condos in between all the different crates, and the dogs would literally sleep while the other dogs were working. That's what we're looking for. So this is important from a safety perspective because you very well may be holding back your dog if they don't have this kind of setup because they quite literally don't feel comfortable enough to do what we're asking them to do because they have 1 dog, 3 dogs, 6 dogs, 10 dogs, however many dogs, doesn't matter. And they're all giving them the stink eye while they're trying to work their searches out. So this is something to think about. It's not just in classes, it's when you're practicing on your own, you're practicing with your friends. Think about what are we doing to stage the dogs when they're waiting, when they aren't taking their turn? And is this working against us? And we have some questions. There are some research papers around dogs searching odor and the learning state that they are in, low beta, alpha data waves in the brain, which is very important to understand learning associations. Ooh, that sounds exciting. And yes, latent learning is very, very good. We need latent learning. It's very important stuff. So we talked about some trialing stuff. We talked about training stuff. Now we want to think about trialing. And the big thing is we want to be thoughtful with what we do. And we have to understand that trials are designed trying to meet the largest swath of dog, if that makes sense. There's a generic dog in the mind of the organization when they come together. And that may not be your dog. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be. Now there are so many different organizations here in the United States. And there's also ones that are international, which is awesome. And there's also virtual ones, meaning that there's probably something for you to do that would fit you and your dog, but you may have to tweak things a little bit. Excuse me. What we want to think about, again, thinking about this from the lens of safety. Can my dog cope with core trial realities? And the answer can be no. And we have to be okay with that and make different decisions. So what are these core trial realities? The parking lot. Some of these trials, let's take an AKC trial as an example. There can be over 100 dogs there. Those dogs didn't get there by themselves. They got there with people, so they have all those people too. Then there are the people who work at the trial. Maybe some of them also have dogs. There's a lot going on. And your dog has got to get from the parking lot to their staging area, then to the trial, to the actual search area, then back to the staging area, then back to the crating area. That parking lot is a thing. And we have to make certain that we know, can my dog actually do that? Or is that going to be a deal breaker? What about the proximity they're going to have to be around strange people? It's very unlikely that your dog is going to know everyone at the trial site. It's very unlikely your dog is going to know all the people who work at the trial. Your gate stewards, your timers, your volunteers, your score runners, your judges. There's a lot of bodies that can be within a search area at a trial, or maybe even just at your start line. And your dog may be like, whoa, this is not what it's like in class, and this isn't what it's like when we're practicing. Who are all these people? And there's also, again, a lot of chaos happening behind the scenes. So those people may be a little stressed. And that is also coming off into the dog. And it's adding to the chemical kind of ether that's kind of hanging in the air at a trial site. So again, you could have a stacking effect of what's going on. You potentially will have to walk by other dogs. Ideally, this is going to be at a fair distance if you have to do it at all. But for some dogs, that's a no-go. Like, absolutely not. I see a dog, I am not a happy camper. So you would have to answer that question and answer it honestly. This is not the time to try to put a square peg into a round hole. We need to advocate for our dogs and be honest. Understanding that trials are indeed a pressure cooker environment for everyone. It's for you, your dog, the staff, the volunteers, everybody. And we pay money to do this, and we do this like willingly, and we think it's fun. Sadists. But in all seriousness, it is a really pressure-filled thing, and that can affect our dogs. And it's like weighing down on them, and we can have a stacking effect. And at a certain point, it's like a bell curve. The dog hits the other side of that curve. We're like, I can't do this anymore. This is too much. I can't take the pressure from the trial site. I can't take the pressure of you being all stressed and nervous. I can't take the pressure of all these weird people. And we're in this weird place. And everything is just so weird. I don't like it. Right? Could just be too many things at once. Could you potentially work up to it? Sure. But there are some dogs where that's a no. It's not going to be any amount of training is going to help. They're just going to fold underneath the pressure, and it could undo a lot of training and work that you've done up until that point to make it so they have a quality of life. So I know that people are like, why are you talking about this? Because it's important. I know that trials are awesome, but they're not the answer for every dog or every team. And it doesn't mean that they're never going to be the answer for you. Maybe they're just not the answer for you right now. But it could be that they're never going to be the answer. And that's okay. We have to have that hard conversation. So again, we're advocating for our dogs. The staging areas. Staging areas can absolutely be problematic because the dog doesn't know what to do, where they are kind of in this static state and they don't know, what should I be doing right now? Am I supposed to be on? Am I supposed to be off? What about these people? What's happening? Where's the thing? Am I supposed to be hunting right now? Like, it's all kind of whatever. So we can mitigate some of this with training. Absolutely. Making certain the dogs actually see what a staging area is like in our practice sessions, making sure we're incorporating that. But for some dogs, the staging areas are just a make or break kind of thing. Like if we were able to do like in practice, we are in our crate and then we go into a search and we go back to our crate, they're good. But if we were to go from our crate to somewhere we have to wait, so then we have to search, they fall apart. We would just have to be honest about that. This last one has an asterisk because honestly, in my opinion, if I was being asked to go to a trial and I was being expected to wait in a line before I got to my staging area, I would not be doing that kind of trial. I just don't think that it's appropriate. I don't think that it's good for the dogs. I don't think it's good for me. Even if I were to train and prepare my dog, let's say that I was practicing with friends and all of our dogs were okay with that, right? I can't control who's entering that trial. And I don't know if those dogs and those people have done the work to make sure they're comfortable. I wouldn't want to put my dog in that kind of situation. That's a personal choice. That's why there's an asterisk. You would need to ask yourself, what is a good choice for you and your dog? But just know that everything that we're adding, that's another layer of pressure. That's something else you have to bake into your training as far as a level of resilience that the dog is going to have to develop so they can deal with that kind of stuff. We have a lot of comments. Let's go through those. Let's see. Always about the dog. Absolutely. Completely agree. We have, I attended a trial as a volunteer for the day without my dogs to see whether they could cope with the environment. Now my deaf, blind, reactive dog shows her best behavior as I've nurtured her through to succeed. Absolutely. And this is absolutely wonderful. Another gold star is I would encourage you to do this. Volunteering is wonderful. It can be an eye-opening experience. You get to see so many different teams do a bunch of different things. You can see what works. You can also see what doesn't. And you can see what's going to work best for you and your dog. Clubs are going to do things differently. Different organizations are going to have different cultures. And again, here in the United States, we have lots of choices now. You can make choices that are going to work for you and your team. And that's wonderful. That's really what you should do. I don't want anyone to think I have to do blah, blah. You don't. That's not true. And if the answer is, I don't know if trialing is a good choice for me, first of all, I commend you. That's a wonderful thing for you to recognize. And the answer is you don't have to. There are some alternatives, which we're going to talk about, that you may want to try out. But volunteering can be fantastic because it can show you, you know what, we can do this. I just have to train X, Y, or Z. We need to practice 1, 2, 3 in order to be better prepared. But we can do this, and that would be wonderful. Please, please, please volunteer. Everyone should be volunteering. It's so powerful. And then this, it's okay to call it and go home if your dog isn't comfortable with the environment. Absolutely. And this is true at any point. So the hierarchy should always be your dog, everything else. I will happily buy you a ribbon and send it to you. And it could be the most biggest, beautifulest ribbon ever if it is going to help you make those choices for your dog. How can I put this? Many of us put in so much time and effort building up our dogs to be who they can be, to be the best selves. I don't want you to make any kind of choices that can undercut that. It's not worth it. And know that sometimes it can only take one bad incident for that to go south. And no trial is worth it. No title is worth that. So going in, instead of saying, I need to get my title today, have different process goals instead of, I'm going to make certain that we're having a good time. I'm going to make certain that we're connected. I'm going to make certain I'm in tune to my dog. I'm going to make certain that my dog is looking confident and independent and they're game. And if they're getting off a little off, then you know what? We're going to call it. Maybe I'm going to scratch that one. Or if I'm doing something, let's say with NACSW, maybe now I'm going to ask for assistance as an example so that I can better support my dog. That would be a fantastic thing to do. And then that's information. Video, make certain you order your videos, or if you're allowed to self-record, make sure you're videoing and look that stuff over. Work with your instructor to see what may have happened. It could have just been, you know what, your dog just had an off day. Or it could have been, you know, I had an off day. I was really stressed out because of something that had nothing to do with the trial, life stuff, right? And then I brought that with me to the trial. Who knows? Maybe there was we had to all pause for the tornado and then we had to do more trial afterwards. Anything can happen. But giving you and your dog a little bit of grace and giving yourself the allowance to say, you know what, this isn't happening right now, but I can adjust it and use it to our advantage. And if I do think the best thing for us to do is to just pack up and go home, you can do that. You don't have to stay. No one is going to hold it against you. It's not like the trial, gods are going to come and bang on your door. You left early. No one's going to do that. So always advocate for yourself and your dogs. You guys are doing awesome inside those comments. Oh, you're awesome. I do want to mention this very, very quickly because it's very important. In-person trials are not appropriate for all dogs. Full stop. There are 3 major categories of dogs who should not be going to in-person trials. Dogs who are aggressive. If your dog is biting, other dogs and other people, do not bring them to in-person trials. That's it. It doesn't matter how long you've been working on it. It doesn't matter how much training you've been doing. Please do not bring those dogs to an in-person trial. There are way too many opportunities for your dog to make a mistake. That mistake can potentially, depending on where you are, could cost them their lives. And biting is traumatic to whomever or whatever they bite. And you do not have the right to offer that kind of trauma to another dog or a person. It's not okay. I'm going to talk about alternatives. So this isn't all just going to be bad. But we have to be really clear about this. If your dog has bitten other dogs or other people, do not bring them to in-person trials at all. For dogs that are reactive to people, please don't bring them to trials. It's not safe. There are going to be way too many variables. You're not going to be able to help your dog make good choices. There's a difference between stranger danger and, oh my God, I'm really worried about that. I may have to defend myself with my teeth. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And I have worked with plenty of people reactive dogs. They are not going to be comfortable inside of that space. It would be as though I'm terrified of bears. I just am. So you could say we're going to have a whole program put together for Dianna to no longer be terrified of bears. I'm also terrified of zombies. Go figure. And we're going to do a whole program where Dianna is no longer, we're trying to counter condition me against zombies. You could then plop me into an amusement park that is filled with zombie bears. I'm not going to be a happy camper. I may not be swinging, I may not be like ripping my hair out, but I am not going to be pleased. And I'm probably going to have some residual stuff. I'm not going to like you very much. I'm probably going to like cut off communication because why would you do that to me? The point being is that even if you get through the trial without anything horrible happening at the trial, first of all, it's a risk that you shouldn't be taking. And I can almost guarantee it, you're going to have a setback in your behavior modification program. You're going to see more reactivity. You're going to see more issues afterwards. I know because I did this myself with my own dog. Learn from me. Don't do this. It's not worth it. And dogs that are really terrified, dogs that are just so environmentally sensitive. If you have a dog who isn't comfortable at home, like there are places in your house where they live that they are terrified to go into, if they only have 1 or 2 safe spaces, please do not ask this dog to go to an in-person trial. It's just not safe. It's not worth it. Basically, it's a betrayal of the trust that the dog has in you. And I understand why people want to do this. I want to show everyone how good my dog is as at scent work. I want to show them that they're amazing hunters, that they are kind of normal, right? We're normal. We're okay. Please don't ostracize us. I get it. I really, really do. And that's why I created a competition organization with my co-founder, Sean McMurray, called Cyber Scent Work. One of the reasons is I want these categories of dogs in particular, I want them showing off how wonderful they are with all their hunting skills, and I want them doing it safely. They can do that at home. Some of these dogs are working with instructors where they have very specific protocols where they go to the training center and it's very safe. Maybe they have safety circle places like friends or family that you've worked so the dog feels safe in those areas. You can do videos, or we actually have in-person evaluators. You can work with them and you can earn titles and ribbons and you can show off how amazing your dog is, because I know your dog is amazing. But putting them into a trial where there's 20, 30, 40, 100 other dogs and people, there are so many opportunities for this to go wrong. Please, 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 better advocate for your dog and don't do that. There are other alternatives as well. Let me just put those inside the chat for you very quickly. So we have Cyber Scent Work, which again is the organization that I started. We also have the NSCSW Skills Achievement Challenges. Those are awesome. They've been doing those for a couple of years. People really like those. And there's also Fenzi Team Nose Work. So you can do that too. So and I'm sure there's others that I'm missing. There's lots of them now. The big thing is we just want to make certain that we're being really good advocates for our dogs. We're trying to wrap up. As usual, I'm over. I'm sorry. What are some of the other things that we need to consider as far as safety? Weather. We need to think about the weather. Again, us nose work and scent work people are so crazy. We just go out and we do it all the time. And we want to think about, particularly, again, from a trialing perspective, if I'm going to be competing with my dog. Scent work trials happen all year round. They happen in all kinds of weather, as long as, it's not in the middle of a tornado or lightning strikes. We're probably going to have the trial. But that means I need to ask myself a couple of questions to make sure that this is safe for my dog. Do they have any medical concerns that may be weather related that I may just need to cross off certain trials during the year just because it's not medically a good idea for my dog to do? So for instance, if my dog were to have heat sensitivity, that's not going to be something that they could be acclimated to, but they have a medical reason why it's an issue. Maybe I'm just not going to be trialing in those warmer months. That makes perfect sense. Regardless, I want to ask myself, have I actually acclimated my dog to these conditions so they can actually perform well at trial? This is particularly true for the warmer months, but quite honestly, it can be the same thing for the cooler months too. Or if you're going to a different type of condition. So let's say that your trial is going to be where there's a higher elevation. Have you actually spent time? Did you bake in enough time for your dog and yourself to go to that different elevation and actually do well? Or are you just showing up on trial day and be like, I can't breathe? Be like, yes, I know. That's because there's a difference in elevation. How are you going to make certain that your dog is both comfortable and safe with whatever is going on? Because again, scent work is very taxing on our dogs. We need to make certain that we're being prepared to help them and to help them be able to perform. Think about every single time that your dog sniffs, all those muscles activating, all the lungs and everything. My goodness, it's a very taxing thing. And they're moving at the same time. My God. So if they're doing that at the same point, they're feeling really uncomfortable because of the weather. We haven't been able to get them comfortable. That could be a real big issue. We also want to make certain that we're asking, can my dog work safely in these conditions? So if it's really super hot and it's also just pavement everywhere and my dog doesn't have booties, how is this going to work out? That kind of thing. Or if my dog hasn't been acclimated and I'm really worried about, my dog doing that, are they going to be okay with that? There's going to be a Gardner sound. There's going to be an upset terrier. I apologize in advance. Little one, I know. So we'll try to wrap this up. And then how am I going to know if my dog needs a break? I know, it's very upsetting. How dare they do their work? How am I going to know if my dog needs a break from when they are doing their work? So how I know if my dog needs to get into the shade? How do I know if my dog is a little bit cold? That kind of thing. And how do I know when they're done for the day so I can just be done with it? I know, baby, we're almost done. We're almost done. All right, so we also want to see, are there things that may scare, startle, or concern my dog? So the big thing that we see here is the photographer. Sorry about that. They're early today. So the other thing we want to think about with trialing is that when we have the photographer, we have to remember this is like a staring eyeball right at our dog. The person's in a weird position, and the dog may have to be going towards them because the hide may be there. So have we done training and preparation in order to help our dogs feel comfortable with that? We need to ask ourselves those questions. So some common scary things that we may want to train and prepare for, particularly if we're interested in doing trialing, those shiny and slippery floors, apparently I can't spell, those are going to be something that you definitely want to make certain that your dog has experienced, that you've figured out, is this an issue or not? Is it the actual slipperiness? Is it because they think that it's like an abyss? Is it the shininess of it? It could be a really complicated thing you may have to parse out. Again, those unstable footing or objects. So when you're designing your training, you definitely want to see, can I design things where my dog has to kind of scramble over things in order to get to the hide? But do I need to make certain that it's stable up to a point? Do I need to build up their confidence maybe outside of scent work first? So I'm not making those negative associations with odor, all kinds of good stuff. Loud and sudden noises. That can absolutely be a thing that you experience at trial. Potentially working one of those large interiors and someone closes a door. They're not trying to slam it, but those doors can be very heavy and those ceilings are just so booming. That could be a thing. Disembodied noises, like maybe what you're hearing right now, where the dog hears something outside of the trial site, where they're doing the trial. Oh, good Lord. And then what's happening is the dog isn't exactly certain what the noise is. And then they start obsessing about it or they start worrying about it. Movement plus noises. This is typically going to be your tarps that are over fences or over fence gates. They're trying to help with line of sight issues. And a gust of wind comes and then moves all the tarps. It's like, oh boy. Those tight spaces, you realize like, oh, my dog is not comfortable getting their head under there, or they're not comfortable squeezing in. Okay, this is something we could work on maybe in training. Strange people, those concerning profiles. So particularly when you have those exterior searches where those poor trial officials are out in the elements and they're trying to stay warm and be safe, they can look very strange to the dogs. That's something to keep in mind. Lots of strange dogs, lots of communications. We don't even know what they are. And the strange location can be something as well, right? Smell, sights, movement, sounds, all kinds of stuff. As per usual, not exhaustive. So what I'm going to suggest for you is that you build up some skills and routines that can help you and your dog, and that can help them feel more safe when they're going to trial. Have your engaged leash walking so that you can get to and from the parking lot, to the potty area, to the staging area, to the actual search, and then back again. You don't need the dog out at the end of your leash while you're doing the parking lot gauntlet. They should be right with you. They should be paying attention to you, being nice and engaged so you can be communicating to them. You can be providing them that support. You can have them focused on the search at the search. But building up these kind of skill sets where there can be stuff going on around us, but I am engaged with you that can really, really help. Having a potty on cue, so you guys aren't loitering inside that potty area where, again, there's probably other dogs that are loitering around, and there were all these communications left over, and it's just all kinds of, ugh. You don't want to be there any longer than you got to be. If you can say, we are marching over here, potty, and then they do that, and then you get out of there. That's ideal if you can get that done. Have the default behavior that your dog is going to ignore other dogs, as opposed to all dogs are my friend, or all dogs must, oh, I don't like them. Instead, it's you don't have to engage with the dogs. That's not what we're here to do. You and I are here to go play the sniffy game, and the dogs are just here because we got to walk by them because they're playing the sniffy game too. But don't worry, your hide is there for you to get. So I hope this part makes sense. I know there are some places as far as different organizations or clubs, or there's just an expectation of people. No, the dogs are all going to be playing and hanging out in the parking lot and having a great. Please don't. It's not going to help you. Your dog needs that downtime. They need that time to rest. And this is supposed to be your time to connect with your dog. And all that stuff can backfire on you. Because even if your dog is the most social dog ever, I can guarantee you there's going to be some dogs there, because set work is open to reactive dogs that don't like other dogs. So they may grumble at your dogs. They go, oh, hi, did you want to say hi to me? Like, get away from me. Like, oh, we don't want that either. Instead, have the default be, it doesn't matter what's happening with those other dogs. You're just going to stay focused on me, because today we're celebrating us. We're celebrating us playing the sniffy game. And again, just try to avoid the whole allure of having this be a play date with other dogs. That's not what it's supposed to be. Have it be instead a celebration of both you and your dog and everything that you've accomplished so far, and playing the absolutely wonderful sniffy game. So really what I'm trying to do with all of this, what I did today, is I'm trying to help you feel a little bit more empowered in order to feel a way of helping your dog feel like super dog, right? That we want them to feel super proud and super confident. I can do this. There's no problem here. But to get there, we have to recognize that there are ways that things can be scary. There are ways that things could go left. There are ways that they quite literally could just get hurt. We can't overlook that stuff. I don't want you to feel paralyzed by it. I want you to feel as though you have some tools to deal with it, and that you can be more mindful with how you're setting up your training. You can be more thoughtful with what you're doing as far as trialing is concerned. And you're just keeping safety at the forefront. And then closely after that is having fun with your dogs. So I hope this was somewhat helpful. I really do appreciate you guys joining me today. I'm just going to see if you guys have any additional questions inside of the comments. Feel free to write those in there. But just as a reminder, we have a giant library of stuff at Set Work University. We have online courses and seminars, webinars and ebooks, virtual events, a regularly updated blog, the All About Set Work podcast, free live streams like this one, free training tips and instructor mentorship programs, Zoom consultations, video reviews, so much stuff. If maybe you wanted an additional kind of resource building off of some of the things we talked about today, you can feel free to write those inside of the comments, or you can also email me at dianna@setworku.com. I will then work with our instructors to make that a reality for you. Again, we want to offer what you guys need. So let's see what you guys have been saying. We do field trips in the morning because it's too hot here in Australia to work Odor on lots of the days. And that's a really good, again, another safety thing, right? Of being mindful about when we're doing stuff. Picking the time of day is going to work well for our dogs. And we're very accustomed to early mornings. Good for you. I am not a morning person. I just don't sleep. So if I'm up early, it's just because I didn't go to sleep that night. And oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you for joining us, Jay. I really do appreciate it. And also, don't be afraid to advocate for your dog. I've had stewards want to pat her while she's waiting for her search, and that's a big no for me. Yes, absolutely. And have something planned that you can say to people so that you're not caught off guard. You can also sometimes being engaged with your dog or having them positioned in certain ways makes it clear to people that, this isn't open for pets. All right, guys, thank you so very much. The gardener's like, you're going to be done now, right? So thank you so very much for joining me today. Again, if you have any additional questions, always feel free to reach out. Please give a cookie to your puppies for us. Happy training. We look forward to seeing you soon.